Sometimes I wish we could go back to a time when things weren't so complicated.
Welcome to the complexity of toilet paper, the podcast that dives into the everyday moments where we overthink, hesitate, or just get stuck.
I'm overthinking. I'm overthinking.
Let's hear it for the toilet paper!
Through honest conversations, unexpected insights, and a whole lot of humor, your hosts Phyllis Martin, Mark Pollock, and Al Emmerich are here to help you roll with it and make your life a little less complicated. One conversation at a time.
That's right, dude. The beauty of this is its simplicity.
Speaking of which, it's time to enter the stall. Put the lid down, or not, depending. Get comfortable, and roll with it.
Oh, worry not, dear friend. It's really quite simple.
This is the complexity of toilet paper. Ladies and gentlemen, a disclaimer before we begin this podcast. All humor that is given, presented, shared, awarded, and rewarded in this podcast is real humor with real funny people. This is a episode that is meant to tickle your funny bone, to cause your liver to possibly have damage because you laughed so hard. We're raising the bar high because we want you to know that being funny is complex, and thus the complexity of humor begins. Hey, why did the toilet paper always fail at gym?
I'll bite. I don't know why.
Because it couldn't do the tummy roll.
That's not good.
Wow.
Why was the
Ouch.
toilet paper always tired?
I don't know.
I don't
Because it's wiped out.
That's better.
Not much.
Okay, last one. That's one.
Oh.
Why was the female toilet so pink in her complexion? Because she was flushed.
That's
Now that
probably
we've
the
lost
best
half-
of the three. And yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Now
Sorry.
that we've lost half of our listeners before the show even started.
Oh, welcome to the complexity of toilet paper. If you haven't figured it out because you didn't read the description and you just blindly pushed a button and ended up at this show, this is the journey we are going to unpack with our guest today, Danny Johnson, on the complexity of humor. And Danny Johnson, welcome to the stall.
Hey, thanks for having me. My favorite conversation, toilet paper, and the complexities of.
Now, just another note, that is actually the way Danny does talk. So that's not his humor persona. That is just Danny. So if he doesn't seem as enthusiastic and excited,
No, don't put that on him. Do not put that on him.
Wow.
Hey guys, it's great to be here.
Oh, wow. Look at Danny. He's so much fun.
I should have had like poppers and like lights and fireworks. And...
Hi, my name is Al Emmerich.
I'm Mark Pollock.
I'm Phyllis Martin.
And Danny, you are?
I'm Danny Johnson, the comedian.
There, Danny Johnson, the comedian.
Comedian, actor, voiceover artist.
That's right. This is the complexity of toilet paper, and thanks for joining us. Danny, I know you've listened to a few of the shows. Nothing's rehearsed.
I have.
Which means Phyllis and Mark never know, and the guest never know what's coming out of the gate right away. So
That's good.
I think, Mark, we did reach not too long ago over 2,000 downloads, but I just checked, and as a result of those jokes, we're back down to 1,100. So
They took back.
They did.
Back, yeah.
They actually uploaded the show back because they were so depressed.
They're so sad. They're not even good dad jokes.
No, they're not. And
I was honored to be asked because when it really got me thinking when you talk about the complexity of things, and as soon as we talked about being on, I was like, well, what's so complex about comedy? And then I started writing about it, and I do daily stream of conscious writing or whatever, and I was like, wow, there's a lot there's a lot here. Maybe not material for stage, but going through my mind, like, yeah, not everyone can do it. I mean, I know people funnier than me that couldn't take it to the stage, you know? So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely coming on. This is going to be fun to talk about. So thanks.
Well, no, thank you, man. I mean, just to give some background here to everybody, Danny and I go way, way back, and I'll let him, share his own bio. But I met Danny when I had a production company, and I hired him as an actor. We immediately hit it off, became friends, and since the day I met this guy, I literally told him, I said, "You are going to be incredible. You are one of the funniest people I've ever met." But then, of course, you think about the complexity of comedy, it's not so much the complexity of comedy, it's the complexity of humor. What does one person find humorous, which is its own bailiwick? But be that as it may, I've wanted to have Danny on the show for a long time. This just seemed to be the right time. And so it's a joy. But let me just tell you what this show is not going to be. And this is one of the things that Mark and Phyllis and I have been committed to. If you've listened to the show for any extended period of time, this isn't like, hey, tell us about, why you got into comedy, or, that's important. Your why is important. I'm not knocking that. But I mean, this is about literally, Danny, what you just, kind of stepped into, which was, wow, there is some complexity here. And so we want you to join us for the show. Guaranteed there's going to be laughs, of course, but this is really a chance to climb inside the mind of a comedian to find out what's complex about telling jokes, because it ain't easy. It ain't easy at all.
And we met, but I don't know if you hired me as an actor before. Well, no, we met before that. You were in an improv group.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Improv Jacksonville, yeah.
I started at the Comedy Zone, and I was doing a workshop, and they had those Monday night shows where none of us were paid, but it was like you graduated from the class, so to speak. And then I remember whenever I would go up, you guys would come back in the room, the improv troupe, just to watch my set, and I was like flattered, of course. And then we kind of hit it off, and I don't know if I mentioned to you I wanted to get into acting, or you asked me, and then you introduced me to Andrea.
Yeah, she's a local agent in Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, my acting agent here in town. And then we just said, you literally brought me into her office and were like, you need to sign him. And there was no audition process. There was no, and she's like, okay. And she signed me, and I've been working with her ever since for the local stuff.
That's cool. That's right, man. I totally forgot about that. So
I don't know if I should have told you that, because I'm not giving you any commissions or anything.
Well, I've already had a lawyer sign a letter of intent to garnish wages from you.
That's why I'm on. I'm being served.
That's right. I couldn't find
to know where you were.
Right. There'll be a knock at the door recently. So, and actually, here's another little inside that's kind of cool. So, if you've ever heard of the company Fanatics, okay, Fanatics is the world's largest supplier, seller, retailer for sporting good attire and so on and so forth. Well, Fanatics began in Jacksonville, Florida, with a company called Football Fanatics that used to have 2 stores, and then they built an online business. Well, I used to do all the production for them, and Danny was in a number of those commercials and helped break that brand out and introduce the new brand. So anyway, now that I have filled our psychological and pride coffer, and Phyllis and Mark are going, what the hell are we here for? I'm going to ask you, Mark. Mark, what excited you about bringing Danny into the stall to talk about comedy?
I met Danny many years ago. Obviously, he remembers, and it's a dear memory to him. When we connected on MySpace, and we got to talk about that before the show. It was great. We were connected through this guy named Tom. It was fantastic. Yeah. But I think it comes back to what we were discussing. We all love comedy. We love to laugh. Life is stressful, and we look for those outlets. But based on our show and what we try to uncover, it's the best comedians out there are thoughty and put a lot of work and effort into creating something that is going to amuse a lot of people. And that's a very difficult and complex task. And so I was excited to, as you even said at the beginning of the show, kind of dive into the mind of a comedian. We don't get to unpack that very often to understand what is the process? What does it take to not only stand up and expose yourself in a very vulnerable way, and
You want to try
and
that
with
again?
with your pants on, but exposure. I'm going to say it again by mistake. But to get up there and be vulnerable and take the hits and then, and what do you do with that? So yeah, I'm thrilled that you're here, Danny. Excited to have this conversation, and I got to watch some of your stuff on YouTube before the show, and you're hilarious. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Now, Danny, I'm probably more excited for Phyllis than Phyllis might be excited for Phyllis because the journey of Phyllis. So first of all, Phyllis and I have known each other for well over a decade plus, and we've been great friends and colleagues and just soul brother and sister. But literally, I never knew how funny she was until this podcast. Like she is to me and many of the listeners and followers, she's a funny person. But she also has the best laugh ever.
Okay.
And she can literally laugh on command. Like, Phyllis, laugh.
That's pretty genuine.
No, that is her laugh. I mean, that's so.
Okay. That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a genuine fake laugh. Yeah. I like it.
It's like also my real laugh, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
No, it's a great laugh.
Yeah. She doesn't have like an AI laugh. That's like the real laugh.
No.
Right.
Anyway, so of course, knowing this, what's the take that you're looking forward to with Danny here, Phil?
So I'm really curious and excited because, and Danny, you already touched on it. There's one thing to be funny. It's another thing to be performative and to be able to take a gift that you have and make it accessible and available to an audience. So I'm super curious about the complexity of that. And then as a serial overthinker, I can't help but wonder over the decades that you have been doing comedy. Like I'm just like this thinking like people can't see it. I'm rolling my shoulders and doing something. The maybe filters or not filters or decision-making processes you have to go through to navigate the world that we're living in now and have like there's always changes, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like that would be a very complicated part as it pertains to your brand, as it pertains to your gift, as it pertains to your income, as it pertains to all of that. So I'm really curious about that as well.
So let's kind of start in the bucket of what Phil just threw out, but we'll zoom into it quickly, but let's go back with the whole first statement that we all agreed to, Danny, which is, first of all, humor itself is complex because every single person thinks something is different is funny.
Right.
So how do you deal with that?
It's funny because in a crowd of, let's say, 300 at a show, if one person is not enjoying themselves, I remember that one face. Where overall the night was a success. And I'm just like, and in my head, I'm just screaming at myself in my head, like, nothing, not one thing in the hour plus I did on stage touched you a little. You know, and then I'm hoping he doesn't speak English or something. You know? Like, give me something to hang on to. And but yeah, you're not going to please everybody. And you know, my humor is pretty broad stroke. You know, I'm not political. I don't do a lot of sexual stuff. It's clean comedy. It's observational. It's about my family, my weight, my mental health. So I just focus on me and an exaggerated version of me. And it is complex in a way that it's funny. Seinfeld said this: we're the experts on stage. We're the experts in funny. However, the audience tells us if we're correct or not.
Oh,
that makes
is
so
that
much
bizarre?
sense.
Is that wild?
It is.
Yeah, it's like I will beat a joke to death, convinced that it's funny, and eventually have to drop it after 100 tries or so. You know, like it's just not resonating with people. But I do try it a zillion times. So I don't navigate who's going to get offended, because the littlest thing, I did a joke, not even a joke. I referenced I talk with my hands a lot on stage, maybe in real life. I don't know. And I said on stage, I improv. Like, I don't even know why I'm talking with my hands a lot. I'm not even Italian. And like a table of 6 were like, whoa. I was like, that was offensive? That? I mean, come on. So I just kind of blew by it and proceeded with my show. But I never know what's going to offend people. I think the closest I came to was picking on this woman I was sitting next to in a restaurant who ordered chicken marsala and then asked the waiter to ask the chef if it was, can you make sure it was cage-free chicken, that it roamed, like it roamed free. It had friends. It played pinochle on Thursday. It had a good it went to counseling. It gave out waters to hot workers on a, and then I ordered the same thing, as an exaggeration of the situation. And I stopped the waiter. I go, I wanted you to make sure my chicken was caged. I want a bullied, neglected caged chicken.
Yeah.
Probably had a limp, just like a limp, and no friends. If that chicken had a friend, I don't want it on this plate. And and then people get mad at that. But I don't. That's not something that's hard for me because it's pretty broad stroke comedy, I would say. So not too much to navigate there. But it is odd that the littlest thing will trigger people, and I think if you kind of just blow past it and just you put on an overall good show, they'll get over it. I don't touch upon politics or stuff that's really where someone gets offended and then they stay offended.
Is timing something that is part of your complexity equation?
Yeah.
As far as when in your set you're going to start landing some of these jokes to get more of the audience involved?
Great question. Great point. So at this point in my career, I have a good chunk of material, a couple of hours worth of stuff that I can play around with, along with the new stuff I'm writing daily. And I was doing a show in Hilton Head this past Saturday, and I noticed that the crowd was mostly 50 plus, older crowd. So I moved my opening joke to the middle right before I went on stage. They're literally announcing my name. I peek out at the crowd. I see it's older, and I moved my jokes about my grandmother and 95 years old, past all that stuff up front. It kills. They relate to it. Now I can kind of go, I can push a little bit. They're already with me. If I have them for 10 minutes, they'll go anywhere with me for the most part. And that's why just take, not even just clean comedian, take any comedian and you, the end of his set will be his stuff about sex. So it's always building up to the dirtiest part, so to speak, for the most part. But that difficulty is, it took me a long time to recognize that because in the beginning you only have, if I have 30 minutes of material and I'm hired to do 30 minutes, that's all you're getting, whether it works or not. I don't have anywhere to go. And now it's like Minority. You ever see that movie Minority Report?
Yeah.
With Tom Cruise, and he's looking at this and he's moving this. So that's my material. It's like, okay, I got my stuff about church and then alcohol. I'm going to switch that around. And so constantly during my set, I'm moving it based on the audience.
So you're in complete flux. Like you're walking in literally. What I heard you just say is A, you don't know what people think is funny. B, you don't know what's going to offend them and not offend them.
Right.
And so literally every show is a risk.
Yeah, it's part of the high, right? It's you're chasing that high all the time. And for the most part, I have a structure of what jokes I want to do when, but I'm flexible now that I can move them or leave them out and bring something new in. The best crowds, I think, are the ones that truly want to see comedy and they'll let you play a little bit. And I even might say, let me play around with this a little bit, this idea, and I'll just kind of talk through it and they'll enjoy it. And then I'll know when they're done. The audience will tell me it's time to move on without telling me. And but you have to pick up on that. That's a learned skill. You have to pick up, okay, this lull is a little bit too lully, as they say. I need to move on. So
Danny, though, when what you're describing is fascinating to me. So when you first start and you get a 30-minute set and you've written 30 minutes of material, you're kind of stuck. Right. So do you feel that even that you're a seasoned comedian now and you have this repertoire of jokes, has comedy become more complex to you or less complex?
That's great. I don't know that the complexity's changed. I'm trying to segment the career business part of it and the performance part of it. You know, the complexity for me mostly now is off stage. But on stage, I feel very playful and I have that flexibility. I think the complexity would come in with constantly trying to create new content that is as good as or better than what I previously did. Because as you know, my first comedy special was in 2019, Dry Bar Comedy Special. And it literally was the greatest hits of 15 years of writing jokes. My show next week, I have 8 new minutes. It's the greatest hits of the last 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So that's why I keep saying most, that's why a lot of comedians' first comedy special is their best. And you watch the other ones past that, and typically they're good, but you always go back to the first one. It's because it took them 20 years to get famous.
Yeah. And
that's the material you're getting. And then they sign a 2-year Netflix deal and they have to do 2 one-hour specials a year on Netflix, or 1 hour each year. And they have to create that from scratch, you know? So that's the complexity for me. And that also keeps me driven to get back on stage. I'll do a new piece. I improv'd a couple months ago, this one line. It's turned into a little bit of a joke now. It's like a minute or so long. And I was excited when I found it. I was just cleaning the house or something, and the second part hit me. And I was like, when am I up next? When am I going on next? I can't wait to add that on to the improv line I did, you know, at that gig. So that's the biggest complexity for me. And then you have the downside of that when you do think of those ideas and you get on stage and the audience is like, that's not for me. And then I'll try it over and over again. I'll reword it. I'll change the cadence. I'll intentionally pronounce a word slightly wrong. And that seems to like subconsciously, like, I can't think of an example, but if I was going to say Christmas, I might say Christmas or something like it just gets their attention. Like, what did he say? Psychologically, it makes them attached to it. And from time to time, people will just repeat that one word to me after the show. Like, but yeah, so when stuff doesn't land, I get angry. Even on stage. When my special, I don't know which one you watch. So the YouTube special is the newest. It's a couple months old, and this pretty prominent talent manager from Nashville emailed me and said, "Call me." I was like, "Great, he wants to manage me." And he goes, "I just wanted to tell you your special was fantastic, and I wanted to reach out and let you know it was great to see high quality production, a clean comedian with an edge." He goes, "Nate Bargatze, who's the highest grossing comedian in the past 2 years, tour wise, is clean and wholesome." He goes, "I would say you're clean with an edge." He goes, "I feel like you can flip out at any moment on stage."
Oh, wow.
With your subdued anger or frustration with the situation. And he goes, "Nate's great." And we all know Nate Bargatze's great. He goes, "But it's nice to see somebody kind of have that little, that whatever it is." And I said, "Great. Were you calling to see if, maybe taking me on as a client?" He's like, "No, I already have 3 middle-aged bald white guys." I was like, okay. So it's not the talent that you're looking for.
So you've met quota on bald guys. All right, got it.
Yeah. And you'll hear that a lot in entertainment. There's, Billy Gardell was a mentor of mine in early in my career. He was the star of Mike and Molly and Bob Hart's Abishola on CBS. Okay. And he said 2 pieces of advice he gave me that's really stuck. Many technical pieces on advice for on stage, but off stage, he goes, when you get a lot of success in this business, when you reach into your pocket, I want you to be prepared to shake 3 hands that are already there. Agent, manager, publicist. And that's where your money's going. And then the second thing was I think he was auditioning for Last Comic Standing. And they said, "We already have a big fat white guy." Yeah. So it's not about putting on the best talent. It's about creating a show. And I've heard similar stories just recently. Just like a buddy of mine auditioned for Star Search, which is coming back to Netflix. They're going to do it live, Star Search.
Star Search?
I saw
is
that.
coming-
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That, yeah.
Wow.
And they're interviewing him.
Digging
They
deep.
approached him. Yeah, they approached him. And they're like, we really like you. You're funny. We want you to come on and be one of the contestants. And they were probing him like, so your father wasn't like an alcoholic or anything or nothing? Or did he yell a lot? Or did you have any hardships? He's like, no, I don't have any. It was a normal family. They're like, okay. And they ended up not taking him.
But that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
Dude, the one of the reasons I didn't audition for America's Got Talent. It was in Jacksonville many years ago. It was a 2-day cattle call at the arena, and you might know Wes Johnson. He's a comic who's paralyzed from the chest down. Very funny comic. He has jokes about him getting paralyzed in a car accident. He auditioned Friday. I was going to go Saturday. He didn't get passed, so I didn't go Saturday. I was like, if his good jokes and story about being paralyzed
Right.
don't get
make
past
it.
the judges, what is Danny going to do with his dumb Publix jokes? You know, what do I have to offer? I'm going to have to rip an eyeball out or something. Like, I lost an eye in line.
So in the sea of comedians that are out there, Danny, you're talking about different avenues to fame.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of went off on a tangent. Sorry.
no, that's all right. Hey, we can just edit that. No, I'm just kidding. Well, first of all, I want to circle back to Phyllis's question. And Phyllis, don't let me forget to circle back because it was I know you asked about the complexity of the decision about where to go, right? Danny made it, and I know that you wanted to explore that. But Danny, you're talking about fame. You're talking about the whole process of how somebody becomes famous. It's kind of a blessing and a curse, which is complex in its own right. Now you have way more sources and resources to get discovered, but because those resources have taken on the persona they do, your humor factor isn't as much of a factor.
Right.
And so how have you decided the path you want to take?
Yeah, it's you put it perfectly. The humor side is probably the fourth or fifth question I get asked when I'm talking to talent managers and agents. The first question is, how many followers do you have? Not how long I've been doing comedy, not can I see a clip, not who I've worked with, TV shows, anything like that. It's how many followers do you have? Second is, where are you located? And as soon as I say Florida, they're like, okay.
Why?
Can you get to it's the hubs seem to be obviously New York, LA, and Atlanta, Nashville, Austin. A lot of stuff's filmed in Atlanta, especially for Netflix. Nashville's the hub for clean comedy, with Nate building out his own podcast and his own room attached to Zany's Comedy Club called The Lab, which I did once. And the Nashville Comedy Festival is there now, and Jimmy Fallon Showcase is there now during the comedy festival. So industry goes to those 5 cities typically. No industry's coming to Jacksonville, so I have to get those followers to get those opportunities. So I made the decision just to look at it like it's a blessing in disguise. So should it ever happen for me where I become, don't get me wrong, I'm making a good amount of money from comedy and voiceover and acting, but I just made the decision, and it's a blessing in disguise, because if it ever does happen where I blow up with followers and I become more of a name, I'm ready. I have the jokes. I have the content. I have more than enough content. Whereas if I had hit 15 years ago and they go, great, you're going to be headlining 50 the best comedy clubs or theaters across the country, and you're going to do an hour. I'm like, I have 25 minutes. I'm not coming back. I might do well the first time around, but the second time around, I'm not. And that's what I see happening with some of these influencers that turn comics, is they'll sell out the first time around, but second go around or third, they might not. And they just slowly kind of dwindle back into the influencer space.
I'm not being funny on this, but like Phil, Mark, that's part of the conversation, Danny, that the three of us have with this podcast. We know we're committed to this podcast. We know that we've got a show that resonates with people, and we're learning about that more and more. But at the end of the day, if we're going to go out and get any type of major exposure, any sponsorship, anything like that, the first question we're going to ask is how many downloads, how many followers, what are the other streams? So we can make this show as beautiful as can be, and it might live in a very small, isolated chamber that never gets exposure.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that, and hopefully you guys have the same perspective. I'm hoping that people, whatever opportunities come my way, they just see how much fun I'm having on stage, and how much I love making people laugh, and how passionate I am about writing a good joke. And should any opportunity arise, I'm ready for it, and they would welcome me into the scene or whatever. But until then, I'm just going to focus, outward. I think we talked about this a little bit before, maybe off personally, but just focusing on the audience at hand. And, if 3 people follow me online after the show, great. If 100, even better. But I'm just committed to putting out the best product, and hope the two things intersect, right? What is that old saying? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Is that?
Yeah.
That old adage or whatever?
Danny, so much of what you're saying sounds like, and I mean this in the best possible way, because I think there's something there, but sounds like what we've heard from so many guests on a variety of topics, which is the complexity in and of itself. There's the complexity of the business itself. So it's not just comedy. There's the complexity of the business. There's the complexity of the location. There's the complexity of the navigation of the world now in which we live, and all forms of social media and followers and language and all of those things. And I think for our listeners, I hope, like in an odd way, that there's some comfort there, that the challenges and the things that we've heard from our listeners and from other guests cut across industry and people and issue. But I really want to go back to something you said, because I think it will really resonate with our listeners when we first started. And it's how you feel when the one person, the one face in a room of 300 people can unsee, this is my language, not yours, can undo what you know in your heart of hearts was a really great show. And I think Alan Mark will agree with me. Everybody we've talked to, and so much of the feedback that we get is just that. And I'm curious if you have tips for our listeners about how you maybe move that aside or overcome that, or just let it be, however it is that you deal with that.
Yeah, because it goes the same for comments when my on social media. So when my first special came out through Dry Bar, they have 5 million followers on Facebook. So they posted it on Facebook. I'm reading and replying to 100, 300, 500 comments throughout the week when it first got launched, and I'll get through 400 comments, and the 401 is, "This is supposed to be funny," and I'm like, "What was wrong with that clip?" I'm totally out of my game. I just read 400 great comments. And so it is fun. I was chuckling as you were saying, because I picture myself leaving the stage, and I remember hundreds of times, maybe not hundreds, of leaving the showroom, like, what was up with that one guy? Like I say to the other comic, or like, what was up with the guy in the front? And they go, yeah, the one with the blue jacket. You just have to get past it. Because you can easily, I've made this mistake. I'll harp in on the guy in my early years and start talking to him, and then the whole show becomes terrible.
Oh, so you literally focus on the person in the audience. Oh,
I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be funny that I pick on the one guy not laughing. Maybe his cat died that morning. I don't know. Right? Like, I don't know what he's going through. So I kind of just put myself in his or her shoes. Like, this person's having a miserable day. At the very least, they're out. And sometimes they'll even say, hey, great show. And I want to say, that old, tell your face about it. Right. And but I think that's in any. So if I think back to day jobs that I've had too, the opinion of one is not the opinion of everyone. And I know that's often hard because it seems isolated at times, and paralyzing too, especially if you deem that person important. And for me, the audience is very important. So whether it's a peer or a boss, I don't know if it's advice, but I've had to just get past it. And I just assume in my head that they're having a really bad day, but at the very least, they're out watching the show. And hopefully they got something out of it.
It's the ultimate risk of performance, not just performers, right? Phil, Mark, I mean, we show up and you want approval. Phyllis, you're doing singing. You are singing now. And
God forbid somebody makes a face.
Well,
right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, seriously, right? I mean, Mark, you get up and speak. I get it, whatever. You're like, it's ubiquitous across.
It is interesting though, Danny. You bring up an interesting point when people after the show say, "Well, it was a great show, but they didn't laugh through it." You really don't know what people are thinking at any given time. I've given presentations at work, and the person who's the most important in the room at the time had no emotion whatsoever. And, they were the ones who pulled me aside and they're like, that was exactly what we needed. And you're like, well, holy crap. I mean, a smile, a nod, a something would have been beneficial because I've been freaking out for the last hour that I'm about to, get my walk-in papers here. So, it's got to be tough though, because you're in the moment. Other people are active. And you were talking about one person, but I am sure you've been in situations where half the room wasn't reacting. How do you structure that in your mind from, hey, this hits, this is a regional thing, this is a national thing? Because, maybe down here in Florida, Publix jokes are fantastic. In Utah, no one knows what Publix is. So how do you deal with the complexity of regionality in your role? Because if you're performing in the South and everybody knows what Publix is, but you're performing in Utah and I don't remember the supermarkets out there, but it's different. Like you've got to be pretty nimble to understand where you are and that regionality too.
Yeah, I try to avoid regionality as much as possible. Even though in my first special I did change Publix to the word grocery store, and they still kind of got it, but I avoid anything that's regional. So it's mostly personal to me. And if it's something, I don't want to be one of those comedians that comes into town and it's like, okay, what's the hillbilly town that I can reference, and I'm like, I don't like that. Can I go back to something that you said? You mentioned doing a presentation at work, and you said the most important person in the room. It's interesting that we designate someone as the most important, even if they're the decision maker, right? That person that's not laughing at me, one of 300, to me, all of a sudden is the most important because it's occupying the most amount of my time. So what makes them the most important person in the room? Because if you had a great presentation for the 50 others that were there and that one quote unquote important person didn't like it, they eventually will follow the 50 others, I would think, with that influence or whatever. But I try to avoid regionality as much as possible because I don't want to have to, like, some clients will do a pre-call before a show and they'll go, here's some topics you can, Betty at the front desk, she likes to sell raffle tickets. And I'm like, I said I could, try to politely say, like, I can just do the show that you guys hired me to do. I can just do that. That's good. I think that's why you hired me to do.
How often do people try to tell you what's funny, Danny? Like, how often do you get influence, especially for your corporate gigs?
Yeah. So corporate, when I'm hired, they pretty much know, and they'll just do a quick touch base before no sex, religion, politics. I'm like, yeah, that's why you hired me. That's why I'm here. But people try to give me jokes a lot, audience members. I just smile and nod. They'll typically go, hey, I read this on the internet. You can use it in your act. Okay. I appreciate it.
Do you think people are generally funny? Like
No, oh no.
No.
Oh God, no. It's terrible out there walking around, you common folk. Jeez.
Al, how dare you?
That's right.
I think they're accidentally funny.
Yeah.
I think the more genuine someone is,
Yeah.
if I can make someone laugh at the grocery store, just at the stupid fruit joke or whatever in passing, and they are like loose and they kind of joke back, that's fun. But if they freeze up and tense and, they don't, no, the general public is not funny.
But the fruit is.
Hey, two things just happened in this last hour or 40 minutes. First of all, we lost 20% of our downloads, and Danny just lost half of his audience.
That's why they're at a comedy show, because they're not funny. Why would you go to a comedy show?
Why do people?
But when they are funny, when they take your material and they go back to the office on Monday and they pawn it off as their own. Yeah, and then they're funny, but then they don't have the timing, and it's terrible.
And then they make my 3-minute joke into a 9 minutes because they don't have the editing skills that we have.
Yeah.
What is your take after all these years of stages? Smoke-filled rooms, all kinds of smoke-filled rooms.
Yeah,
because you've done, if I remember, a comedy in a burning building once. So, why are people going to comedy shows? Is it always the same, you think, or has it changed over time? And I'm kind of bleeding back into, I want to take us back so we don't miss what Phil brought up early on, which is this really tenuous dance between, being funny, being humorous, but also politically correct. And I don't want to spend too much time there, but it was Phyllis's question. So Phil, I want to make sure we honor that because I think it's a great topic.
I feel like he did, though. I mean, because he's not political. Like for him, he's not political. So I feel like that. I feel like we could move on from that. But thank you.
Yeah,
or he could talk about it.
If I feel it on stage that it'll get the if it'll pick the crowd up or if I can make it funny, I will take an opposite view of what I think the audience wants to hear, regardless of what I believe. And the way I get away with it is I make it so ridiculous that it's obviously a joke. So it's not I'm taking a stance and here it's funny. It's not so much, maybe political, which rarely, but it's more just taking the ridiculous stance of, and then most of the time, if they've had too much to drink, they believe me that I really believe this. So it makes it funnier for the whole crowd. Can I make one more point? And this probably goes to anybody on or off stage too. So when I have shows where people are specifically buying tickets to see me, I do not experience this, but for the most part, they don't know who I am. They may have watched some clips or at least checked out the website when they bought tickets or whatever. So as a result, almost 90% of the time I'm on stage, I have to prove that I'm funny, although they're coming to see a comedian.
Wow.
Whereas if you're paying $100 to see Kevin Hart, you're going to go tonight. We're going out for laughs. And when they're going to the Comedy Zone, they don't know who the guy is or girl or woman or whatever you want to be today. I hope he, so it's almost like, okay, who's next? Go tell me.
Unpack that. That's fascinating.
I agree.
You have to prove that you're funny.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so much there.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
It's you get no grace. They don't know who you are. So it's especially if they're in a group with coworkers and there's one, the one leader who never didn't have attention on him. I love to humiliate them, but there's this weird tension of, and you can tell by the silence in between, when the one of my opening acts is done and the MC comes back out and it just gets quiet and oh, you ready for your headliner? Yeah. Danny Johnson. And then you just see, and they're just waiting. It's not like they go to see whoever it is, TJ Miller or somebody of note, and they're like, oh, he's it. And they come out and they'll say the silliest thing. My shoe's untied. Oh, Jerry Seinfeld. That's hilarious. Although I think celebrities get maybe 10 minutes of grace and then they better bring some jokes. But there's none of that. There's none. And if you're not super good, they'll quickly abandon. If you're great for 18 minutes and then you have 5 minutes of struggle, they're gone. They're talking to their neighbor. They only spent $15 to see you, or 25, or whatever it is, or free. Free ticket gigs are the worst.
So do you also have to rely on your openers to get them primed, or are you on an island by yourself? So everybody is their own prove it to me.
No, everyone's their own prove it to me. The MC's got the hardest job. He's going up cold. People are finding their seats, getting their first drink. They're half listening. That's part of the tension of backstage, is like, these people, I hope they continue to listen the way they're listening, or you have to prove they're not on the edge of their seat waiting for me.
God, what a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Every single, it's one thing we have to show up at work. It's one thing we have to, prove ourselves in with clients and things, but you have selected the primo version of bless me or boo me.
Yeah. And that sometimes at this point in my career, when I do open for bigger names, I do take a little bit more risk because I have 1,900 people in front of me, or 1,000 or more. There's more of a margin of error, or less margin. I don't know. I have a better shot at winning. And I did the Ponte Vedra Concert Hall not too long ago, and I had this new line that I wanted to try, and I'm like, I'll stick it in the middle of my 15-minute set opening. And I decided to open with it, and I did. And it got a smattering of laughs, but some lady in the front row goes, "Oh, I like him already. Oh, I like him already." And I was like, that was the green light.
Yeah, it's all on now. Danny, one of the things, and we could have a whole nother show just with you on this, is the complexity of failure, because you being in this vulnerable spot, having to try new material, having to deal with the complexity of an audience and where you are and what you're wearing and what you start out with.
Yes.
I would imagine that you have experienced shows where you walk out and you're like, well, that freaking sucked.
Yes.
And how you have to overcome that, because you've got to show up again the next day.
Yes.
And you got to show up again the next day. And because this is your career.
Yes.
So there's got to be a lot to unpack from just understanding and dealing with overthinking failure.
Yes.
And what that means.
So, yeah, the flop sweat shows, I call them, is when you leave the stage and you've just... Did I just deliver a Hitler speech to these people? Like, I could have sworn these were jokes coming out of my mouth. And that, I've done shows where I don't even think they knew I was there speaking. There was so much talking and so much. I did a Christmas party in the huge ballroom, and they were just the 4 open bars in each corner of the ballroom, 1 table of 6 who listened to me. Everybody else was standing, talking, or on the line at the bar. So I did 18 of my 30, handed the microphone back to the DJ, which, by the way, that's how I was introduced. I stood on the dance floor. This DJ hands a microphone to me over my head and goes, before he does that, he goes, "All right, the comedy's here." And he just hands me the microphone. The comedy's here. Hey, everybody, I'm the comedy.
Oh.
This is going to be successful.
So I did 18 of 30 minutes, and I leave and I go out into the hallway where the silent auction was. I probably would have done better out there. And the lady goes, "How was it?" I go, "I think it was pretty good." And she hands me my check, and I bolted. But that early in my career, that would linger so long with me, because I would feel it. I would feel the sweat, just this trickle of sweat down my back, and then I start to talk like that, like a little stutter, like I don't know what's happening. I don't know what, like joke kryptonite. And I'm like, am I saying it wrong? Am I saying words wrong? Are those words? Does this mean everything is going on in my head? And then I switch gears to like more simpler jokes, mid set. Like I'm like, this has gotta land, and it doesn't. And I've gone just right back to the hotel sometimes, and like, what am I even doing? This was for $45 in a bar tab. This was, why am I? The people don't look at you. You have to leave the venue, and people are avoiding eye contact. By the way, Norm Macdonald was famous for, when he did really well, he would go right back to his room. When he bombed, he would go out in the lobby and shake everybody's hand.
I love that.
Well, that's like, yes, just jump right in going, all right, I'm going to get feel some love.
I think that's where a big part of me getting over that was the community of comedians. Whether it's remote or in person, is like you kind of go out to eat afterwards, or you make a phone call. I'm like, this is what just happened. And they've had the same shared experience. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, I can't wait for tomorrow night's show. I hope none of the people last night show up tonight, but you just move forward, and then you get, was it not redemption, or you do the same set and it works. You're like, okay, it could have been, did I deliver it wrong? Did I, did I just not present it the way? Was I not, I've come to find out too, the longer I hold on to a joke, the less passionate and genuine I am with it, and the less it does well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as funny on paper, but it's not hitting anymore like it used to.
Right. Well, it's that self-judge. It's all of this points back, Mark and Phil, to this reoccurring theme of self-judgment, fear of risk, fear of acceptance. There's this and there's a whole other concept that we explored many moons ago. It called decision regret, right? Like, it's all the choices of, I could do this, when you're like watching Netflix and you don't ever make a choice. And so I wanted to just, before we step into the roll up here, Danny, like, when you're rifling through your humor and your list of jokes, you and I were talking pre-show, and you made a comment that sometimes it's the simplest route that creates the funniest response, and that you can overthink your joke, and you're trying to play all those what if scenarios. How do you decide, this is the joke I'm going to take to market?
Yeah. If I find it funny, I'm taking it to market, but if I think you can guess the punchline, I didn't write it good enough. You might be able to tell where I'm going, but I'm hoping to hit you with a slider on the outside corner of the plate,
Yep.
I don't want you to be able to, there's so much low-hanging fruit. So I immediately leave low-hanging fruit. I'll either use it as a setup, casually mention it, and then I'll go for the joke that I want to tell. So, it's not, I don't say it's hard, but the complexity that I referred to when we were talking before was like, everyone at least I thought I was going to be the next, or in my early days, I'm the next Bill Hicks, Carlin. I'm going to write prolifically, and you almost ignore the punchlines that you should be saying, because you're trying to being someone you're not. And once I realized I was an observational guy talking about me and my family, it brought me back to maybe not the obvious punchline, but something I just overlooked because I thought it wasn't original enough. If it was original to me, then I should be able to write it and express it on stage. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's got to be real. It's something you can relate to. You can't.
Right.
The day of being we find humor as people in things we can relate to. Why wouldn't the rule be the same way for the comedian? Mm-hmm. And I would imagine if I think about the funniest people I have seen, you among the tops of them, but the stars, the Robin Williams of the world,
right,
and stuff. These are folks who, they're so into their stories that you know that those are things that they either love talking about, or it's real to them.
Yeah, well, it's authenticity, right? I mean, I think that's the other theme that shows up in every show is the people who overcome overthinking, they get back to being authentic and who they are, and that kind of saves the day.
I love listening to people talk about something they're passionate about, regardless of if I'm interested or not. So if you love butterflies and I could see it in your eyes and you light up and you want to talk to me about that for a half hour, I love seeing someone So I think an audience wants to see that I love what I'm doing up there. And I'm not jumping around like a clown, and but I'm into it. I'm talking, I'm facial expressions and body movements, and I think if I can bring that authenticity across, whether I have the flu or not, they'll enjoy themselves. But I think in life off stage, I keep saying real life. I want to hear that from people. I think people in general love the fact that you're passionate about whatever it is you're passionate about.
Speaking about being passionate about something, it is time to roll up the passion and to step into the stall for the roll-up. That's right, Danny. This is where we get intimate in the stall with brain-defying, comedy-busting, belly-bursting questions that require thought beyond the normal cranial expansion of life. Yeah. This is
I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
This is good. Okay. So, Phil, do you want to start?
I knew you were going to say that.
I know.
Well, the question is based on an assumption, which you'll know as soon as I ask the question. Now I'm second guessing the question, but what the hell? We're all here.
What?
What
You're second guessing?
Me? Second guessing? So have you talk to us about if you have ever written a joke or great material in the bathroom.
Yes. And I should say this before we entered the stall, but if I was to be stuck in a stall with 3 other people, it would be you 3 people.
Thank you.
Aww, Danny.
Thanks.
That's so great.
Thank you.
That's very sweet.
I love that question because it took me a long time to realize this. Some of the best ideas, I think, or successful ideas that I've had that I've brought to stage come in moments of non-thought.
Exactly.
So it's exercising, it's walking the dog, it's showering, it's going in the stall where it's almost like the stream of conscious writing I do in the morning. I'll get nuggets out of that too. Where you just kind of write. You don't know what you're writing about. You just write. You force yourself to write for 15 to 30 minutes. Set a timer. And but it's the most bizarre thing because sometimes I'll have an idea and I'll just jot it down and then I'll focus. Okay, let's focus. Like right now I'm working on this thing about the monocle. Why the monocle was invented and like why was that ever a thing? Like I don't understand. My eyesight's bad. Okay, we're gonna get you a No, one. I just want. And we're gonna put a hook on it. No. I want it to be. I want to pinch it. I want it to be as inconvenient as possible. So it's some weird thing that I discovered, and I guess eventually self-aware enough to go, oh, I just need to occupy. I just need to move and do stuff and zone out. And that's when these ideas, and then capturing them right before I go to bed is probably the best, and that's the worst because I'll remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And the next morning I will not. So I record it. I quickly hit the voice memo on my phone, and sometimes it's ridiculous babble, but
that's great.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's I think it's more it's definitely more productive for what do they call it? Clickbait headlines for me to work with to kind of pick apart, and then I'll go, oh, that's fun. Something's there. Work on that later. And I just kind of jot those ideas down.
Mark?
What's the funniest heckle you've ever gotten that made you laugh?
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't know. I don't know that I've had a funny heckle. These people are not funny. But
hence the heckling.
Yeah.
Right.
I've had that's not funny before. Or who's next? Early.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Ouch.
And usually I get a laugh because I'll go, oh gosh, you sound like my agent. And that gets a laugh. But I that's been years since I've been heckled. And mostly they're talking out loud where they're kind of agreeing or talking the last line of my last joke or whatever. So there's been no funny heckles. But I like shutting them down. I like shutting down hecklers.
So you want hecklers? You're looking forward?
No.
I mean, we'll come to your show and heckle. I mean, it's
some of my comedic peers are tickled pink with my absolute disdain and frustration when someone talks or heckles at my show. It's on my face, but I don't necessarily express it in full. They go, we can see how much this really ticks you off. Like how frustrated. I'm like, I know I'm working on stuff up here. I can't work with you jibber jabber and eat your nachos and shut your cake hole. Like, I'm trying to work. I'm not up here making stuff up, you know? I can't work on the bit.
Danny, what is what to you is the funniest thing about the bathroom?
Ooh, funniest thing about the bathroom.
Just in general. Yeah.
Yeah, here's what I love about the bathroom. And it gets me every time I do it, and I'm typically alone in the bathroom unless, there's a homeless guy in there or something. But I love bathrooms that you go into and the lights automatically turn on, because for a half a second, I pretend it's a surprise party for me. So I open the door. It's like, and I'm like, hey, I'm here. Hey, all right. I think I'll wash my hands an extra time or two.
Last question for the roll up.
Yeah.
If you were stuck in the John, the power's not on. All you got is your phone, and eternal battery life, and you could listen to one comedian while you're stuck in the John, who would that comedian be?
Jerry Seinfeld. I love his attention to detail and the way he picks apart a joke. And there's no angle left unturned or no rock left unturned when he tackles a topic, and everything is precisely picked, selected, the cadence, the way he says it. It's all, you watch his bit about Halloween, it turned into a book. It's 8 minutes long, and about, it's just fascinating to me. I probably wouldn't have said Seinfeld at first because I've heard all of his stuff so far. Some of the newer guys I like listening to, I might have picked, but Seinfeld for sure is my
go-to
if
stall
I could write
guy
with him for sure. He's my stall guy.
You know what? That's what Phyllis, Mark, and I are going to work on. We are going to work on getting you and Jerry Seinfeld writing together in the crapper.
Okay.
because we have that
We
sort
do.
of influence.
Well, hey,
on
let's
this
not
show.
forget.
I mean,
Right.
Remember, I'm kind of responsible for his career.
That's right.
See, Mark, it always comes back to this.
Just the acting, just the acting piece now, Al. Just the acting. What's the deal with this crapper? I mean, come on. That's
Okay, so I have a question. This is totally selfish. I have to ask you this question, and then we'll get to just kind of the closing tips. Danny's, so much of your comedy has been rooted in the Chusky guy. And if you haven't seen Danny's, we're going to give all of that information and we're going to put it in the show notes. And Danny's going to tell you in a moment. But you have lost weight. You're in great shape, man. You're working out. So, well, I don't know if you're working out. Maybe you're just taking Gigantic or whatever the hell it's called and sticking your. It's probably that's probably the Gigantic.
sponsored by Gigantic.
right. Having trouble gaining weight? Take Gigantic.
Moving on.
Make all
Anyway,
skinniness.
so-
Al, spit out the question.
Thank you.
yeah.
Hey, we're getting
The
close to
setup's killing
Phyllis's
us.
bedtime. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
Danny.
you are. I'm hungry.
Anyway,
Getting
so
hangry.
you're losing.
Move on.
So seriously, Chusky's been so much
Right.
apart, and a joke about your weight. You said it in the beginning of the show, and now you're slimming down. How do you deal with that dance? Because that's got to be complicated as well.
Yes, and it's sort of first of all, it helps me get rid of a lot of material, right? So a lot of stuff is about me being a bigger guy, or was, and I'm still, I'm a man of generous proportion, but not as much, right? And but yeah, I like the fact that it pushes a lot of stuff out. Right. What I like the most is that I feel more confident on stage than I ever, because part of the complexity of comedy for me is if I don't feel I look like the way that I look, I will not perform well. I have to feel good about, even if it's a plain black t-shirt. Matter of fact, that's probably the best. If I feel a t-shirt fits good, it's not wrinkly, it looks well in the light, and I'm comfortable. If I'm uncomfortable, that's all I'll be thinking about in the back of my head is these shoes are terrible. My foot hurts. And so it's helped me on stage feel more confident, and it's installed a little bit more discipline. So it's like, wow, I exercised today. Why didn't I write today? Why is that not a non-negotiable? Even if it's 5 minutes and I go through an old idea and just tinker around with it for 5 or 10 minutes, like I exercised for 20, whatever it was. Why didn't I do that?
Well, we're going to bring ourselves home by talking about a little advice, and Mark is always the purveyor of the mic drop. And so, Mark, if you would bring us home with the closing advice and tips from Danny.
Yeah. Well, first, Danny, thank you for being here. I think it was a brilliant insight into something that we all take advantage of when our worlds get stressful. We come see you or colleagues of yours to relieve that stress, but none of us probably think of the complexity that goes into your world in order to alleviate the overthinking in ours. And so I think what I heard from you today and gleaned from this conversation is that regardless of the role that you have as a job in life, there is a level of complexity that comes with it. And so don't feel alone in your own world. Even the funniest people in the world have to think about so many different elements in order to make someone laugh, to feel good about themselves. And I think, the tips that I heard from you today, Danny, are in some ways go back to what you know and what's authentic to you. You referenced going back to old jokes. You referenced talking about yourself, being authentic, having the fear of failure front and center, and being vulnerable with it and being okay with it, identifying people who are your detractors, but pushing through that, and then being able to provide that level of confidence, whether it's in your look, the way that you dress, the way that you structured a joke, and give it your all. And I think that's a really beautiful testament to what we can all take away in our full-time world. So thank you for that. That's what resonated with me today.
Can I add one thing to that we didn't touch upon,
Sure.
if you don't mind?
Yeah.
And this just struck me because I try to implement it in real life, and it's just so frustrating dealing with you people in public. But
I get it.
the power of assuming good intent, assuming positive intentions from anybody. So for me, it's a heckler. Maybe they're just yelling out because they love the show and they're just trying to join in. In the workplace, if I think back to interactions with a neighbor who's coming in hot because I left my trash cans out for 3 days, and they say something snarky, the ability to come back and not take it so seriously and come back with a little joke, you'd be amazed at how disarming that is to the person who meant to probably hurt you, but you're assuming their positive intent. You don't cut your grass for 6 weeks, or you didn't turn in that report. It's late, and you're like, "Yeah, you reading my diary or something?" Jeez, just something silly or stupid. It's so disarming, and you'd be surprised the turn from an audience member, a coworker, or a family member, anybody. So don't take stuff so seriously. Assume positive intent.
Wow,
That's the best tip
love that.
ever. It really is.
Yeah, I
do
think
too.
that's the mic drop.
that is Phil. I mean,
There's nothing else I can say, to be honest with you.
all right. So, Danny, where can people find you? And are there any, really, really great shows coming up in the months of mid to late March, April or so?
Yeah, so DannyJohnson.com is where all my links. You can find everything to my social media and my 2019 Dry Bar Comedy special, and then my latest special it's titled Everything Bothers Me. It's on YouTube. It's almost 3 months old, 185,000 views, which I'm very happy about. And then it was funny because Jim Gaffigan posted a YouTube special, and he made a social media post thanking his fans for 1 million views in a day. I was like, maybe I should take mine down.
No, absolutely not.
All my social media handles are Danny Johnson Comedy on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. But I think if you watch the special, if your folks watch the special, they'll enjoy it. They can watch it with their family, share it, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, you got it, buddy. This is the complexity of toilet paper.
Did you say toilet paper?
Everything complicated. One big, big mess.
I'm overthinking. I'm over.